Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations, and if this is your first time with us, welcome. We come at you twice a week with different crafts for you to either watch and enjoy, or better yet, turn your hand to. Today's video is a little bit special because it's part of a collaboration video with a whole group of other creatives. So when you finish watching this video, there is a link that you can click on to that is going to take you to a batch of other videos that you can watch, enjoy, and hopefully pick up some additional craft projects to put into your lineup. Now today, what I wanted to do was turn my hand to something that I've been seeing some other people do, and that is doing a woven rope wreath. It doesn't look hard. We'll see. Now, I've seen it done with really thick nautical rope, but again, I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. And so I went a cheaper route until I know whether I could do it or not. So I picked up a bundle, an 8-foot bundle of just white 1/2-inch rope from the dollar store, because you need 9 pieces. And again, because I haven't done it before, I don't know how big this turns out. So we'll make our wreath base after we've woven our rope. That gets hard to say. So we'll make the base for it after, because then I know that it's going to be the right size and I don't have to agonize over it. So these little bundles were here in Canada for $1.50 each. So 9 of them. You know, I'm under $15. That's easy math. Don't figure it out exactly, just go for close. So what I want to do to start, because we're going to weave these, which means we're going to be weaving them in groups of 3. So I sort of want to have my 3 attached. They do come nicely taped at the end to be able to keep them kind of wrapped up and stuff, but I want to maybe kind of glue these together a little bit so that there we go, just so they're not flopping all over and my first weavings and things don't necessarily all come undone, which means I'm going to do this 3 times. I'm going to take that 3, lay them out, get this 3, do the same thing. All we're going to do is we're going to weave this. We're just going to plait it like we would here. So we cross over one batch. I'm just thinking maybe something to weight to that tip down a little bit. Okay. Well, and then you can't see anything. All right, so we cross one group of 3 over the middle, and then we cross the other group of 3 over the middle. The only thing that we want to ensure about this is that all 3 of our strands stay flat. We don't want them rolling over or crossing over each other. We want them always to stay flat. So as you cross one group over, just kind of push them down, tighten them up a little bit. And we are just going to keep that pattern going through all 8 feet. Now, you could do less than the 8 feet, and I may, once I see how long it gets. So here, I don't know, not having done this before, how much length I lose with the weaving, with the plaiting, right? So I'm kind of trying to keep them nice and tight, and then we'll see. In which case, I may be cutting some length off, but all we're doing is we're looking at weaving along as many of these 3 strands over each other as we want until we get the length that we need. And I can see that I'm already managing now that it started a bit, to get a slightly tighter weave. So I think that once I get toward the end, or the length that I want, I will probably go back and re-weave this end to tighten it up, just so that they're all nice and uniform. But as long as you're keeping all of your strands straight, so they're always staying in exactly the same threesome, then it should turn out okay. So I'm going to continue this on and then come back when I get closer to the end. I'll see you soon. All right, I have my braid done, and I still have lots of rope left over on the ends. But I will say that because of the way that you were braiding it, and for whatever reason I couldn't think of that word earlier, but some of your strands are significantly shorter than others, just because some get woven, some are always on the outside, and so those ones get used faster, the rope gets used faster. So mine is roughly about 45 inches long, and what I did do was I put a nail into a board, and then I just put my 333 ends just over the head of the nail, just to kind of hold it in place so that it wouldn't unravel here as I was working down the other end. Now, what I do have is a foam board that is maybe a little small for my purposes, but I'll maybe make it work. And I was just kind of looking to see if so you can see that there's some short ends here, but then I still have some ends that are super long. So perfect, I'll have some leftover stuff for other projects. So if I end up taking this over and up to match my board up there, then I do end up with a wreath that's a decent size, and that is about 17 and a half inches in diameter. And I don't think that's a bad size. So what I am going to do is just kind of loosely mark it. Here, I've got a pencil, because I don't want to get my wood, get my rope. Okay, and I'm going to gently move my rope, and I just end up with this sort of wreath shaped look here. And I am going to cut that out. I'm not sure how that works with scissors, but I have and I want this to be, it might be easier with this. I want this to be slightly smaller than my rope, meaning that you're not going to see this from the top. Okay, so I am just going to get this cut out, and this seems to work much better with an X-Acto knife or a blade cutter than it does with my scissors. I'm going to get this cut out, and then I'll come back at you for the next step. So far, easy. I think the attaching part may be more challenging, but we'll see. Once we have our shape cut out, it's time to sort of roughly lay it onto our board. And really what I want to look for here is how much of it shows. So I may have to go and kind of cut it a little thinner perhaps in some areas where it's showing a little bit too much. And for those that are screaming because I'm doing this on my table, it's just my work table. So breathe easy. It's just in the shop. It's meant to get all painted on and messed up. So it's okay. Now that I have the board cut down to size, it's time to start gluing this down to the board. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with this top upper rim. So very beginning place of my wreath. This is never gonna be, it's not gonna look like it's continuous, right? In the sense that these are gonna kind of pile up on top of each other. But that's okay, because we're gonna have the other end meet up here, and then this is where we're gonna do our embellishments. So we ultimately won't see this. But we're going to start by gluing them down into place. Oops. All around and starting to glue this in place. And I'm going to start by doing it on the inside and then flip it around so I can do it on the outside. Because I want to catch some of those cords, get them to stay into place, and I can use that to sort of hide some of my foam core. And I want to start this way and go all the way around, because then I'll know how much of this I need to cut off. And so I'm going to cut it off right at the end to make sure that I don't cut it off too much too soon, and that I end up with enough of my cording to work for my wreath. Okay, so once I've got the inside done, then I'll go around and I'll secure all those outside edges just exactly the same way. And then I'll be back and we'll figure out this piece together. Because so far I'm telling you what to do, but it's just what I'm figuring out that maybe I could do. But it seems to be laying flat. It seems to be all braided okay. I mean, I've always had short hair, so braiding has never been my thing, but it seems to be working okay. The glue seems to be holding on this side at least. The other side will also secure it. And when I go to do the other side, I'll kind of lift it up and try and get some down in the middle as well. So I'm gonna get this all anchored, and then we'll come back and we'll kind of fiddle with this piece together. For all intents and purposes, this is all glued down. I probably have a couple of spots that I'll go back to just tighten it up a little bit. But we are pretty much at this end. So what I am looking at is kind of taking these two outside edges, and cutting those off and gluing them down in place first. I have some tin snips, just because this is fairly thick and I thought that it might be problematic to cut with just scissors. And I thought maybe tin snips would work, but I don't know if tin snips like rope. Not much. No, they don't. So, a good idea, but unnecessary because my scissors are able to cut through no problem. Okay, could have tried that first. Sometimes I think things are going to be harder than they actually turn out being. But sometimes we think things are going to be harder than they are, and we don't try them because of it. So my only saving grace is that I still kind of jump in and give it a go. And I put a whack of glue down there, so I'm just using my scissors to push it down right now so that I'm not burning myself. Usually I just use my fingers and burn myself. I need to maybe get those little rubber things for your fingers that a lot of the crafters use. I see them using those to be able to push against their glue so they don't get burned. Those are people that are far more prepared than I am for crafting, let me tell you. Okay, I'm gonna cut these back 3 now so that I can glue them down into place. Yeah, and if you've got a pair of sharp scissors, it works a treat. All right, so I'm going to push my ends down and then this edge down. Perfect. All right, and I am left with this, with my last 3. Now, I didn't bother to take off the tape off of those because we're not going to see it. And so I'm going to, rather than have them just kind of meet up there, I'm just going to take them down and to the side because then they're out of my way. And this is where I'm going to be putting any of my decorative elements anyway. Just stick those on down, hold them in place. It looks like a wreath. Okay, that should be good enough to lift. Okay guys, I'm really impressed with, okay, so I'm impressed that I did it. But secondly, I'm impressed with how good it looks for how easy it was. It really wasn't difficult to do the braiding. You just had to ensure that things were staying flat. And what I got was, I just started moving the whole clump down under the table with every crossover, and that was a lot easier. At the beginning I was just doing the top and then the bottom was getting all into a jumble. If you just move the whole whack of your 3 strands over at a time, it goes super fast, super easy. This was incredibly fast. So now I'm going to gather up all kinds of different options that I have for embellishing this. I'm thinking that I want to do it so you could do it so that you have, you know, you could just do something as simple and as easy, this is glue drips, sorry. You could do something as easy as just doing a thick ribbon coming up here and a loop at the top. So nice and simple, you just have the beauty of the braid itself. Beauty of the braid, that sounds good. So you could do that and call it quits, it could be done. You could do a big bow up here and some flowers. You could angle it off to the side slightly, or you could have the embellishment down at the bottom, which is what I'm going to do. So, and you can see here, look at how long this end is, right? So this is it folded over in 4, and then this is one end on its own. So that's why I said you end up with some really short pieces and some really long pieces. So when you're building this and you're determining what your size is going to be, it's going to be driven by that short end, right? Just keep that in mind. But I think it worked well with the idea that I didn't know how big this was going to be, so to build my base after. But from an 8-foot length of ropes, which, you know, you could have done 7 feet and potentially had enough to finish off the project. So with my 8 foot, I got to that 17-inch wreath size, no problem. If I had done maybe a couple of extra turns, I would have needed a slightly bigger base than I had. I could have gotten to maybe about 17 and a half, maybe 18 inches. And this is for a 1/2 inch thick rope. And obviously the thickness of the rope is going to make a difference as well. So I'm going to just go and gather up a lot of my different embellishment options, because because I don't necessarily have a plan yet. And then we get to play with what that base is going to look like. So I'll come back at you once I have some of those with me, and then we'll see what's gonna look good or not. But right now, guys, easy, 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 and looks so cool. So this, you know, I'm kind of going for more of that cottage core kind of neutral look. But man, if you wanted something that was a little bit more colorful, a little bit more bohemian, I mean, this rope would take dye super easy. I mean, you could take DIY paint, which is what I carry here in the store, queenbeecreationshome.com, but you could dilute that and dye this. So you could get this in any color that you want that's really going to be a little bit more funky, fit in with your decor. So many options. I kept it simple for my first time, but oh, so far I'm already thinking of other possibilities. Can you imagine this, like at Easter in a sunshine yellow? Oh, like, oh, come on. So yeah, my head's already spinning because this was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. Let me grab some embellishments and I'll come right back at you and we'll get this baby finished off. Okay, I've kind of gathered a bunch of stuff together. So I have some pine cones. I have some fall oak leaves and some maple leaves if I wanted to go more into like the fall orangey stuff. I'm thinking that might be more fallish than I wanted to go with this. It might look a little too heavy with this since I didn't dye this. I have this kind of grassy kind of picks. I have this bundle of picks that I got that's kind of weedish, and I sort of cut that apart. I have all kinds of my Soooo wood flowers in the neutral tones, and then I have these really soft kind of neutral little rosebuds if I decided to add some in. Again, I had some of these flowers which I think I'll save for a different wreath, one that has a little bit more color to it. I think that's a little bolder than we want to go. So maybe I had cut off a couple of these little picks, add a little bit of that darker base, and these guys are kind of soft. They've got a little bit of a light orange color to them, but fairly neutral still. If we laid those down, and there's some of these weedy kind of things in here. Weedy. I'm sure that's a term. If we add some of those, maybe bringing that cream color back in a little bit. That might be okay as kind of like the base of this, and then maybe some of my Soooo flowers, bringing that cream back in. Okay, I don't mind the look of this. I'm not sure about the Soooo flowers. I may do a bow instead. Who knows? But let's see how this goes. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is use some of my Soooo flowers. So I'm going to use this one with the brown center. I love these flowers because they are so flexible. They are so light. Maybe this way. So they don't add a lot of weight to your projects, which is great. And you can dye them. In which case, if you needed them to be a different color, they take watered down paint tea, coffee to get stained, no problem. So I'm thinking I'm gonna add, so a big cream one, and then one that's kind of almost like a lazy Susan. It's got that dark center. This one is kind of a small multi-tone, so they bring a little bit of the brown in on that one that I'll nestle down underneath, and I'll show you as soon as they've kind of dried. But I think, remember those tea roses that I showed you? Kind of a soft pale pink, kind of a pale yellow. They look dry, right? They look like they're a silk, but they look like they're a dried flower. And I think I may tuck a couple of those in here and there. Just, they're not super bright, so they aren't going to create any issue. They're not going to stand out a lot, but I think they might just add a little touch of something sticking out here and there. In which case I can maybe tuck one down into there with my wood flowers rather than another wood flower. Just kind of peeking out there. Just kind of peeking out. Okay, apart from all of the glue strings that need to get cleared off, see what you think. Not bad, kind of cute for that little rope lap. You know, you can do so much with this. I mean, you could go nautical with it just by doing like a blue and cream bow. You could, as I said, you could stain this any color that you want. You could flip out those flowers later and do nice bright, you know, daffodils for the springtime. But it's gonna look nice and cute, kind of neutral, got a little bit of that fall theme without being in your face fall happening, which is gonna be great in my shop right now. So, love to see if you give this a try. Certainly drop in a comment, let me know what you think. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.